Good morning, and welcome to All Souls Unitarian Universalist Congregation in New London, Connecticut. I'm Ann Kadlacek, the intern minister here, and with me is Perry Montrose, Director of Faith Formation. Jesse Edwards is once again handling the technical pieces, and you'll get to see another side of him today, too. And we have music from Gary Elliott and music director Tanya Lehman. Madeline is lighting our chalice this morning, and once again, we have Tammy's beautiful slides. And there are several other special guests today, too, who we'll introduce in a few minutes. As always, this service comes together through the combined efforts of many souls. And I'm so glad that you are here with us. On a day when we are struggling to come to grips with all that has happened this week, it is good to be together. Let's settle in with a breath. Breathing in and out as I invite you into this space with these words from Anne Hillman. We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which is every moment at the brink of death. For something new is being born in us, if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures, vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love. Amid the change and uncertainty, we come into this sacred time together. Welcome to All Souls, where all souls are welcome. We are, with great love, called to worship. Please sing along with Tanya, wherever you may be.
Thank you, Tanya, and all of you for singing along to our opening hymn. Each week, we light a chalice, the symbol of our faith. And each week, we invite a child or a youth, or sometimes an elder, to join us and help light the chalice and pass the flame. And today, we have Madeline to help lead the words and pass the flame to light our chalice.
Now our little flame begins to dance. A gentle flicker, a comfortable presence, a small glowing friend, be at peace. Just as this flame is cradled by the chalice, so are you cradled by our love.
Thank you, Madeline.
Yes, thank you, Perry and Madeline. This morning, we also light a candle of gratitude for the life and the legacy of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Brilliant, morally grounded, justice-centered, funny, and a truly great human being. She became a Supreme Court Justice 27 years ago, the same year I became a lawyer. I and others who had followed the trail she blazed rejoiced. Her persistence in the face of obstacles, her commitment to justice, and her unwavering decency were inspirational then and only became more so over time. She gave us all so much. When I heard the news Friday night, my heart broke. Like many of you, I cried. I cried for the loss of this amazing woman. I cried as I learned that as she was dying, her thoughts were for the well-being of this country that she had dedicated her life to. She's missed. She will be missed by so many. As Perry lights the candle of gratitude, let us be silent for a moment of appreciation for the notorious RBG. We cherish her memory and we mourn her death. But Justice Ginsburg would not have us despair. May we honor her legacy by picking up where she left off, with great hope and great courage. Amen.
Thank you, Anne. As we know, during these times, we look to our children and youth as the future and our hope, and we guide them through these difficult times as we also learn from them. And we do that in faith formation in unique ways. And in faith formation, that discovery is dependent upon mentors and adults who are with the children and youth through the journey. And so each fall, we covenant with our teachers to honor our Unitarian Universalist tradition and process of covenanting, to say how we are going to be together. So this morning, we are together, some of us, to represent the teachers and parents and the congregation, and we hope you will say words along with us. So with us today for this process is Angela and Henrietta and Kate and Linda to represent all the teachers and teacher assistants. And Len is going to represent parents and caregivers. And Bob is with us to represent you, the congregation. So I will start. This morning, we thank you for your commitment to our children and youth. You will share with them the richness of our faith as another concerned adult in their lives. This is sacred work that is about your spiritual growth as well. I covenant to support and appreciate you.
Whether virtually or in person, we covenant to present to these young souls.
We promise to honor their individuality, to enable discovery and insight.
We will show concern for each of them and focus on their well-being.
We covenant to bring our best selves to the children and youth whom you place in our care.
We entrust you with our children's faith formation. We thank you for the ways that you will open their eyes and strengthen their character. We covenant to appreciate you and support the learning that takes place.
Marissa, here.
Thank you for being our teachers. We promise to do our best when we are together.
We honor the path you have chosen to serve our congregation. We thank you for sharing your presence and the good news of our faith with our children and youth. We covenant to support and appreciate you.
And may the congregation say amen. And truly, thank you all for bringing your gifts to faith formation. We look forward to the journey ahead, and you've already shown your willingness to be adaptable and caring just the same, no matter the circumstances or the format. So thank you. It's going to be a great year ahead.
So good to see and honor the teachers and families boldly bringing faith formation into this new year. Thank you. Our story today is one of the foundational stories of Unitarian Universalism. This version is adapted from Janine Grossmeyer. It's a story about a man named John Murray. We start back in 1770. Exactly 250 years ago. This is before there was a United States of America. Connecticut was still one of the 13 colonies. Back in England, John Murray was a Christian minister, a Methodist. Like most people around him, he had beliefs about what would happen after we die.
Some of us who believe the right things and lead good lives will go to heaven. Everyone else will suffer in hell.
But then he read a book about Universalist ideas that changed his mind. Universalists were also Christians.
But they believe in a loving God who will save everyone. Everyone will go to heaven when they die.
This was a weird idea. Different Christian churches had different ideas about exactly who would get to heaven and who wouldn't. But the idea that everyone would get to heaven, that was different. But John Murray came to believe it was true. He started preaching his new beliefs.
God is a force of love in the universe. A loving God wouldn't send anyone to suffer forever in hell. Everyone can experience this love, and everyone will be saved.
This was universal salvation, or universalism. John preached it, but the people in his church were not happy about it, and they kicked him out. He lost his friends. His business failed. And then his wife and child and siblings died. Soon after, he spent time in jail because he couldn't pay his bills. Everything was going wrong. It was a very hard time for John Murray.
I am going to give up preaching forever. I will go to America and start over, never preach again.
He took a job on a ship and started the long journey across the ocean. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, there was a farmer named Thomas Potter. Thomas Potter had also discovered the idea of universalism.
But there aren't any universalist preachers around here.
Thomas decided to build a church anyway.
Someday, a preacher will come to tell people about a God of love rather than a God that people should be afraid of.
Probably everybody who saw what he was doing thought he was out of his mind. But he built that little church. And he waited and waited. For 10 long years, he waited. Meanwhile, John Murray's ship had a problem. The wind was very strong and it blew the ship off course. It wound up stuck in the sand off the coast of New Jersey. And the sailors couldn't take it back out to sea because the wind was so strong it kept blowing the ship back into the shore. John Murray went ashore to see if he could find some food and water. And there he met Thomas Potter. And Thomas Potter invited Murray to his home for dinner. Potter found out that Murray was a Universalist and had been a preacher.
I have been waiting for you. You must preach in my church on Sunday.
Oh no, I'm never preaching again.
Potter talked to him and argued with him and prayed over him. But still, John Murray refused to preach.
I'm never preaching again, and that's final.
But Thomas Potter said,
I believe God sent you here to preach in the chapel that I built. I believe the wind will never change until you have preached to the people a message from God. Tell me, sir, if the wind does not change by Sunday morning, will you take that as a sign from God that you should preach again?
John Murray thought about that. And finally, he said,
I will.
The wind did not change. It blew for days, keeping the boat stuck to the shore. So on Sunday morning, September 30th, 1770, John Murray got up early, got dressed, ate his breakfast, and went to church. And he preached. He preached in the church that Thomas Potter had built, and he preached of a loving and caring God. He preached that we are all loved as we are, that we do not have to earn this love, that all are saved. And afterward, when the people came and thanked him for his sermon, John Murray changed his mind about his life. A few years later, he became the minister of the very first organized Universalist church in America. He traveled and preached all over the United States and became known as one of the founders of American Universalism. The church that Thomas Potter built doesn't exist anymore, but Universalists are still here. Unitarian Universalists now. And today, 250 years later, we still tell this story. Thank you to Perry for his Zoom portrayal of John Murray, and a special thanks to Len Salter for bringing Thomas Potter to life.
This reading is by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, an American Mestiza Latina poet and psychoanalyst specializing in post-trauma recovery. This is an excerpt from her 2001 Letter to a Young Activist During Troubled Times. Do not lose heart. We were made for these times. Ours is a time of almost daily, jaw-dropping astonishment and often righteous rage over the latest degradations of what matters most to civilized, visionary people. Yet, I urge you, ask you, gentle you, to please not spend your spirit dry by bewailing these difficult times. Especially, do not lose hope. We were made for these times. We are needed. That is all we can know. And though we meet resistance, we more so will meet great souls who will hail us, love us, and guide us. And we will know them when they appear. One of the most calming and powerful actions you can do to intervene in a stormy world is to stand up and show your soul. Soul shines like gold in dark times. Struggling souls catch light from other souls who are fully lit and willing to show it. To display the lantern of the soul in shadowy times like these, to be fierce and to show mercy toward others. Both are acts of immense bravery and greatest necessity. There will always be times when you feel discouraged. I too have felt despair many times in my life, but I do not keep a chair for it. I will not entertain it. It is not allowed to eat from my plate. The reason is this. In my uttermost bones, I know something, as do you. It is that there can be no despair when you remember why you came to earth. I hope you will write this on your wall. When a great ship is in harbor and moored, it is safe. There can be no doubt. But that is not what great ships are built for. Thus ends the reading.
Jaw-dropping astonishment and righteous rage. Oh yeah, I can do that. And I love the idea of being a great ship boldly sailing into a stormy world, my soul a lantern for all to see. That's got a good feel to it, even if boldness isn't always where I'm at these days. But made for these times? Really? Not so sure about that one. I see myself in a softer, gentler time, a less demanding, more predictable time. A time when I wouldn't have to muster courage just to check the news. A time when I could hug my children, for real. And yes, they are grown men, and they are my children. This is not a time I would have chosen for them. This is not the time they deserve. I resist the idea that they were made for these times. And all of you, and all the children we love. Made for these times? But what if we were? What if we were? I don't mean that some intellect individually crafted each of us for a particular earthly task. Some theologies go there comfortably. Mine doesn't. And I don't mean that what's happening now is in any way acceptable. It isn't. But what if being made for these times isn't about assigned tasks or acceptance? What if being made for these times is about knowing that whatever is going on, however dark it seems, our soul has something the world needs. Even if we're not sure what it is, even if we really don't have the time or the energy, even if despair keeps trying to pull up a chair. What would it take to know that we are made for these times? What might it mean? Let's return for a moment to the story of John Murray. Through the lens of history, Murray seems made for that time, in the right place, with the right people, at the right moment. But Murray himself was lost. Everything he thought he knew about his life was gone. Despair had moved in and taken over. In desperation, he made a plan and he was sticking to it. It took being blown way off course and stranded on a sandbar. It took the extraordinary persistence of Thomas Potter, the support of a community, and a faith rooted in love for Murray to let go of the old ideas and expectations he brought with him to this strange new world. And remember that he had something this world needs. And that something changed the course of liberal religious history. It wasn't easy. Murray went on to be charged with vagrancy and sedition. Those in power tried to stop him from preaching. In one now legendary moment, someone threw a large rock through a window as he preached, and it narrowly missed killing him. Murray reportedly picked up the rock and held it high, saying, "This argument is solid and weighty, but it is neither rational nor convincing." Being made for these times might call for both humor and bravery. 2020 has been a year with so much loss and change and anxiety about things getting even worse before they get better. We seem to be blown further and further off course as our desperate planning turns out to be no match for the real world. Things are not okay. We can't make them be okay for ourselves or those we love. I don't want to embrace this moment. I want to be in a world that offers the opportunities and experiences I thought my children would have. I want to hold on to my expectations about my education and my life. I want to hold on to my old ideas about this country. Some of our old visions are needed in these times, but some just don't fit. No matter how much we'd like them to, no matter how much we value, expect, or depend on them. Pouring energy into creating lives that resemble those visions is stressing us out. I noticed some of this in myself recently. This is my last year of seminary. I had some ideas about what this year would and should be like, what I would learn and experience, relationships I would deepen, how I would grow. And I started filling my calendar with seminars, gatherings, workshops, actions, suggested readings, trying as best I could to live into my expectations. They made sense before, but not in this world. There are real losses in my revised calendar, but it is now the calendar for these times. I wonder if there are visions, plans, expectations from the world that was that you are holding on to. that really don't fit now, where you might perhaps loosen your grip a little, lighten your load. Letting go not just for our sanity, but so we can allow ourselves, like John Murray, to be challenged by others. And so we too have space to remember that we have something this world needs. For John Murray, that something was the courage and commitment to spread the good news of a loving God and salvation for all. 250 years later, the faith has evolved, but it still offers a message that I think the world needs. That we are loved. Whatever you are experiencing or struggling with, however tenaciously despair is hanging on to a chair at your table, you are worthy of love, and you are loved. A message that we are absolutely interconnected to one another and the planet. Our suffering affects each other, and love, given anywhere, lifts us all. And a message that we are needed. Our task is to show up with love and receiving love in this world. In the words of the poet, we are needed. And though we meet resistance, we more so will meet great souls who will hail us, love us, and guide us, and we will know them when they appear. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a great soul. She showed up with love. She overcame obstacle after obstacle in her life, all the while working to make this country better. She did not give up, and neither must we. Though fear and despair may be at our table, this is not a time to allow them to eat from our plate. Ginsburg's legacy and memory can still guide us. Her resolve can be our resolve. Her love received by us and carried by us into the world with hope and courage. Showing up with love isn't always public. It can be a private action. Saying yes to being there for someone else instead of, say, finishing the homework. Recommitting to relationships, letting other stuff go. Or setting a boundary and saying no. Letting go of the need to keep doing and perfecting, remembering that no one can always be a lantern for others. Showing up with love can look like caring for the visions of a community that we must bring forward. I think of the faith formation teachers, embodying this congregation's continuing love for its young people. And the building project. In spite of all the reasons you might despair, through this project, you're carrying your mission into a world that needs it. For John Murray and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, showing up with love looked like speaking truth, even when it wasn't welcome to those with power. We too show up with love when we defend democracy, immigrants, the environment, Black lives. As Cornel West said, justice is what love looks like in public. It's not easy. It's not going to be easy. But we have a faith and great souls to guide us. May we find the courage and the clarity to let go of what we must. May we allow ourselves to be challenged, changed, loved, and held by this community and the great souls in our world. May we show up in this complicated world with love. And as we do, though we might not choose it or welcome it, may we perhaps come to know that we are made for these times. In this darkness, may love show the way. May it be so. Amen. I now invite you into a musical meditation. The song is called Show the Way. It's by David Wilcox, interpreted here by that man of many talents, Jesse Edwards.
You say you see no hope. You say you see no reason we should dream that the world would ever change. You're saying love is foolish to believe, 'cause there'll always be some crazy with an army or a knife to wake you from your daydream and put the fear back in your life. Look, if someone wrote a play just to glorify what's stronger than hate, would they not arrange the stage to look as if the hero came too late? He's almost in defeat. It's looking like the evil side will win. So on the edge of every seat, from the moment that the whole thing begins, it is love who mixed the mortar, and it's love who stacked these stones, and it's love who made the stage here, though it looks like we're alone in this scene set in shadows, like the night is here to stay. There is evil cast around us, but it's love that wrote the play. For in this darkness, love can show the way. Now the stage is set. You can feel your own heart beating in your chest. This life's not over yet, so we get up on our feet and do our best. We play against the fear. We play against the reasons not to cry. We're playing for the tears burning in the happy angel's eyes. For it's love that mixed the mortar, and it's love who stacked these stones, and it's love who made the stage here, though it looks like we're alone in this scene set in shadows, like the night is here to stay. There is evil cast around us, but it's love that wrote the play. For in this darkness, love can show the way. Show the way. For in this darkness, love can show the way.
Thank you, Jesse, for that wonderful, wonderful sharing of your musical gifts. So good to see that. Each week, one way we express appreciation for this faith community is through giving. Each person or family is able to give differently, but all donations are contributed with care and received with love. Together, we create a better world and a hopeful future. We are grateful for your generosity. Thank you. Please remember that you can donate online through PayPal or Venmo, or simply mail a check. And now, to prepare us for the offering, we say these words together. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves and this our offering. The offering will be gratefully received. For all you have given, shared, and sacrificed, thank you.
Pause now to tend to the joys and sorrows of this community. I want to begin by noting that we are mourning the death of Ruth Sussler this past week. Ruth was a longtime member of All Souls. She designed the mural that graces the front of Unity Hall, our sanctuary, and she guided volunteers through the process of bringing it to life. She will be remembered for her creative mind, her gracious spirit, and her generous contributions of art and beauty to All Souls and to the Southeastern Connecticut community. We offer our condolences to Ruth's family, especially her daughter, Anna, who was also an All Souls member. Ruth will be memorialized at a later time when it is safe for us to gather in person. This is also the time to honor and perhaps share joys and sorrows that are in your heart. There are two ways to share. If you plan ahead, you can share by email to belovedcommunity@allsouls.net by 2 p.m. on Thursday. Items that are emailed are read aloud in the service. Or, right now, you can share by entering your joy or sorrow into the chat, where it will be witnessed and held by those assembled here in silence. As you type your joys and sorrows in the chat, Perry and I will light our candles of intention, and we will hold a minute of silence to give you time to share. Amen. In your sharing, know that we are with you. And now let us enter into a time of stillness for prayer or reflection. We gather these joys and sorrows, those shared this morning and those held deep within our hearts. We gather them and hold them tenderly in community, for in these times, we need each other. Spirit of life and love, be with us in these times. These times of storms and fires, illness and death, violence, oppression, tyranny. These times also of courageous truth-telling and caring for one another, persistence and dedication, striving for a better world. And these times of hope and joy in the beauty of this life and of love freely and extravagantly given. These times are complicated. May we find comfort in our pain, courage in our resistance, strength in our communion. May we offer ourselves and one another a little grace. And may the love that holds all be with us and in us and show us the way. Amen. I invite you to join with Tanya, singing our closing hymn, number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Thank you, Tanya, for guiding us with love through our music. Before extinguishing the chalice, we say these words together. Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion.
As we close our service, I invite us all to join together, placing one hand on our hearts, reaching the other to connect with the community. And I offer you these words from author L.R. Nost. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you. Amen. Thank you once again to everyone who was involved in crafting this service. And before we enter into Gary's postlude, Perry has a couple of announcements. And of course, feel free to continue conversations in the chat. Perry?
Today at 11:30 in the All Souls parking lot, we have our first faith formation session for pre-K through 9th grade. And we will actually continue to talk about and reflect on the John Murray story and have some fun with that as well. Also, you are invited to participate in The Minister is In. Reverend Carolyn and Ann look forward to meeting you. And the session begins on Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Contact Tammy for the Zoom link. Our food collection now happens each week through the month. And this month, you can bring diapers or baby food to All Souls on Thursdays from 11 to 1 and Fridays from 5 to 5:30. When at 5 o'clock, you can also join the Black Lives Matter Witness that happens weekly. We stand on J Street as a reminder of the work and change that is still needed. Join us in the call for justice. Please enjoy the postlude.